Charlie Goldberg here alongside Minister and Ring of Honor commentator Caprice Coleman. Caprice, as somebody who wants to get into the business in the future in your position, it is such an honor to be talking to you today.
I was honored to be talking to you as well, man. Anybody that's looking to inspire to be where we are and already on the road to do it, it's good to help encourage those type of people. So I'm glad to be here.
That means so much coming from you. And let's talk a lot about your career, a really long, really successful career. So we have a lot to get into. Let's get right into it. Every single person who's in the pro wrestling industry has that moment where they say, you know what? I want to do this for the rest of my life. What was your moment?
Oh man, I really don't know. I've had a lot of them. Definitely moments in the ring where I've wrestled people that I've admired, and I look out and the crowd is receiving it. And then those moments when in commentary, when you're looking over at your broadcast partners and they're people that you idolized growing up, like JR and Tony Schiavone, Taz, people like that, and you're noticing that you're sitting at the same table of the kings of commentary, and the road that it took you to get there. Those are the moments. Is like, yeah, I would love to do this for the rest of my life.
That's incredible. And growing up, did you have a moment where it was maybe on your TV or a friend introduced it to you?
I started watching pro wrestling. I was probably like 4 years old, and I was living in Southern Pines, North Carolina, and the TV just happened to be on, and wrestling was on it. Like nobody was watching. I think maybe cartoons were on before, and then wrestling came on after it. And I just found myself watching. It's like Dusty Rhodes was on TV, and he was giving some type of promo about the devil in the boots or something like that, and I was just hooked. And nobody in my family, my immediate family, were wrestling fans, but I would see it, and then I was too young to know when it came on. So for a few years, because I mean, you got to think about it, I was 4 years old. I would only catch it when it was on TV, and then when I got old enough to ask for it or say when does it come on, I would figure it out. And it got to the point to where, like I said, I was the only person in my family that was really a wrestling fan. Where my mom bought me like a black and white TV at a yard sale that I could watch wrestling on in my room while everybody else watched, the regular cartoons or whatever else. So that was my introduction into pro wrestling.
No, I'm the same exact way. I started in 2011. I'm the only one in my family too, and from that point on, I was always known as like the wrestling fan amongst my friend groups and
Right,
family and
right,
all
right.
that.
Yeah. And even through the years, it was almost like after you turn 13, your friend group of wrestlers, gets smaller. So you get older and your friends get younger, and that type where you're growing up and you're maturing into things, but you have immature friends. Yeah.
It definitely wasn't great in high school, but now that I'm in college, it's actually turned around because in high school, I used to get clowned for it, and that's just an immature high school train of thought. And
Right,
now
right.
in college, my friends are sitting down, they're watching. For WrestleMania, they watched that Gunther match, and they were all going nuts. And that was one of my favorite moments as a wrestling fan, just watching that.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things about wrestling fans is just not being ashamed of it and just being who you are. And then the people that they pick at it because they don't understand it, they don't get it, or they think they get it, and that's why they don't watch it. But then those very same people, like you're saying, you sit them down in front of the TV and you're just watching what you normally see, and they're blown away. And that's what we get to witness, and that's what I feel like I get to live in. So it's an honor on all sides.
It's truly a larger than life thing that I love more than anything. Now, when you got into wrestling, you were actually trained by the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff. Tell me, what was that like? Were they making you do swanton bombs from day one?
No, no, no. When I first started wrestling, of course, when I pulled up in the yard and realized who it was, I didn't know initially who that was, but I was already getting like the VWF tapes of Trampoline Wrestling Federation tapes and all. So I knew who they were, and when I saw them in the ring, they were doing that stuff. Like Jeff, he was, because it was a wrestling ring in a yard and it had the mattresses and all, and so you would see Jeff trying stuff and Shannon trying stuff and Marty Garner and all trying stuff. Um, but when it was your turn, you tried the basics, but you were trying the basics and you were doing the basics, but in out of the corner of your eye, you see Jeff do a moonsault or a swanton or try something. You're like, I can't wait till practice is over because I want to try that. And so you would do your practice, and then after practice, you're like, yeah, that move you did, can I try that? And they wouldn't care. They would just let you try it and always to see what you had. And that's kind of how it went. You would get your basics done. You would do the wrestling training or whatever. And sometimes they would intermingle with each other because you would have people that wanted to try and move out. And I was the perfect size for that type of stuff.
Oh
And so,
no.
right. And so they would try to move out or whatever on the mattresses and stuff. And so, and then you get to intermingle with that type of stuff. And then it just kind of goes from there.
So Jeff and Matt, at this time, were they like younger? Were they in the business at all, or were they just like the trampoline wrestling guys?
No, they had morphed into their own independent promotion. It was East Coast Wrestling Federation. I think it was changed into New Frontier Wrestling Alliance, and so they were already like indie wrestlers and had their own promotion, and they were doing shows at like local armories, at the fairgrounds, and stuff like that. They hadn't got picked up by WWE, but they had like dark matches or like enhancement matches on WWE. I think Jeff had like wrestled Razor Ramon, and he was like 16 years old, very young, and Matt as well. And they had that type of stardom already. They were already known by WWE, but it was kind of like, they were extras at the time, but WWE definitely knew who they were.
Wow. Now, with you, your journey went from the trampoline wrestling to being a referee. How did you transition into putting on the white and black stripes?
Well, I wrestled all the way through high school. And like I said, when I got with Matt and Jeff, and it wasn't trampoline, they started Trampoline Wrestling Federation, and then someone ended up getting them a wrestling ring, and then that's when the East Coast Wrestling Federation, I think it was, and then when I joined them, I think they had just finished East Coast Wrestling Federation, had went to New Frontier Wrestling Alliance, and so they had already established themselves as wrestlers. I came in wanting to wrestle, but I was very small. I probably weighed 125 pounds at that time, but I wrestled all the way through high school. And so the wrestling fundamentals was something that I already had a grasp on, but I was very small as well. And so Matt kind of felt like they already had the underdog at the time, which was kind of Shannon Moore. He was the young underdog, and also for me to come in and two underdogs would be we kind of, unless we were tag team partners or feuding against each other, it would kind of everybody had their role, and he talked to me about refereeing, and I said I love the referee. And so for a long time, I refereed their matches wherever they would go when they weren't doing regular shows, because they would travel in the Indies as well. And so I would just travel to Indies with them and be their referee. And then after a while, I guess Matt thought I was good enough to actually wrestle, and so I would bring my refereeing gear and wrestling gear to shows. And 9 times out of 10, I would always get on as a referee, but then every once in a while, I would get on as a wrestler. And then whenever they would allow me to wrestle, they wouldn't allow me to referee anymore.
Oh.
And then just kind of went on from there. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned you wrestled in high school. I actually did too. I might have joined in middle school because I thought I'd be doing choke slams, but it's a different story. I stuck through with it in
Right.
high school. How was making weight for you? Because for me, that was a big thing. I remember I had spit cups and I would wear like 5 sweatshirts to school. I was pretty disgusting.
Well, no, I was always small for my size. My senior year, I mean my freshman year, I wrestled weight class 103, but I didn't even weigh 100 pounds. I probably weighed like 93 pounds at the time. My sophomore year, I wrestled 103, and I actually weighed around 103. My junior year, I wrestled weight class 112, and I was just over 103. Like I was like 107 pounds. I was always small for my division. My senior year, I wrestled 119, and I just never had to cut weight. I just always was able to make weight because that was my natural size, and I could have went down to 12, but I think at 12 we had like a state champion there. And at 25, it was like the twins. It was Andy and Randy. So there was dominant positions too. So every time I was in a place, my weight class, it was a weight class that fit, and I never really had to cut weight for, and I was able to do pretty good.
And did you eat whatever you wanted, or you had to kind of watch that
I
too?
no, I never was one that just ate whatever I wanted. When the guys were fasting or spitting or whatever like that, I would just watch my weight and realize, okay, I can eat, but I'm not gonna, garb out or anything like that. I'm just gonna do what I need to do. My main thing was staying in shape and making sure I'm doing my part, win the match for my team. And all because if I didn't have to go through what they were going through and I seen what they would go through just to wrestle and I had it, why wouldn't I give my best effort? You know what I mean? Because I would see these guys, like you said, you walking around with spit cups. I see them doing all of that, running, then sleeping under the mats, rolled up, trying to create the steam and the sweat. And then they would go out there and destroy their opponents. So I'm like, I don't even have to do that. All I have to do is wrestle. Why can't I give 110%?
Yeah, no, I didn't roll up with the mat. Maybe I should have used that technique. I had nights where I would use like 5 blankets. It was brutal.
Yeah,
It was brutal.
yeah. Everybody had something they did, some kind of trick of the trade that sweat that water out.
But moving back into the pro wrestling, as a referee, they're actually one of the most underrated parts of the whole story. People really sleep on them a lot. What do you think is the most important aspect of being a referee?
Paying attention to the wrestlers. There have been times where wrestlers have really gotten hurt, and inside of that squared circle, I mean, people's lives are changing. Anytime you become a wrestler, people, oh, it's entertainment, all that, but there are people that been have life changing accidents in that ring, and their lives won't be the same. There are people that have died in that ring, their life won't be the same. There are people that none of those accidents that happen inside the ring, but the wear and tear on their bodies have changed their life forever. And so the biggest job of the referee is just like a referee in any other fight is being able to understand what's going on, but keeping a keen eye on the people inside the ring because you can get knocked out. You can get your bell rung. You can really hurt an ankle or you could really break a leg, or you could really break something. And if your opponent doesn't know it and he goes to the next thing or whatever like that, then you further an injury. And so there needs to be times where that referee sees some, hey, he's not ready. Hey, he's hurt. Or the referee just goes in there and checks and breaks it up enough time to be able to tell that guy, hey, something's going on here that, this you don't expect, that you might need to be concerned about, and being able to do it enough time that if the person's okay, they can keep going without blowing the whistle, you know what I mean? But also being that keen eye just in case you need to. And I've seen a few times on TV, I've seen it a few times on shows where if it wasn't for the referee, man, somebody could have died.
Yeah, and I'm sure you actually have had your fair share of injuries, not on the referee side, but in the ring side. Like, what have your injuries have been? How much have they cost you?
Oh man, I've dislocated my shoulder a few times, a irritated disc in my back, concussions, um, a few, scares, like landing on your head type stuff, but nothing to where I've seen friends spending the night in the hospital and stuff like that. Every injury I've had, by the grace of God, I've been able to, if I need to go to the hospital, go to the hospital and get it fixed, and do the rehab. I've torn meniscus. I've had surgery on my knee. The stuff that I did with my shoulder, by the grace of God, I was able to rehab. Um, Over the years, I'm 46 years old now, and I feel good. And God has been good to me and put me in position of commentary to where the 25 plus years that I've put in professional wrestling has landed me a chair to be able to talk about it. And the experience that I have, I feel it, but it's nothing that holds me back. I'm still able to perform on the indies and on big stages if I need to. So I feel grateful that I'm not one of these guys that my knees hurt or my back hurt or my neck or what I have. Of course, I'm 46 years old, so you're gonna have swollen joints or whatever like that. Some things just come with a program, but I thank God that I don't have anything that I have to change my life because of. Or the way that I live because God has been good to me, man. I'm healthy. I look good. I feel good, and they call me the ageless one. And they used to do that as a rib, but then I embraced it, man. And I started looking at myself and what can I do to help this thing along, and a lot of do-it-yourself type stuff. Just really just taking care of yourself, working out, skin routine, cut my own hair. That's why my hair looks crazy right now because I just cut it not too long. But yeah, it's little things like that that once you find those things too, you embrace it, and you're just grateful for it because this sport is meant to tear you down, and if it doesn't, you're lucky. And that's any sport, man. You see football players, basketball players, when they retire, they have that limp or that crone, or you see basketball players' fingers, and at least two of them are going to be turned sideways from being jammed up. But by the grace of God, I don't have that.
Every wrestler definitely has their expiration date, and it is great that you were able to transition to commentary. Now, how was that adjustment going from in the ring to behind the desk? Was that a big adjustment, or did your passion just kind of help you through it?
Uh, I'm the type person, man. Whatever opportunity I get, I take. And production in the back, commentary up front, managing talk shows, whatever I've been given, I take because I want to learn everything that I can learn. That's just the type of person I've been. And when I was probably in my mid 30s, and I just started looking around, and I was realizing, like, you can't do this forever. I've met a lot of my idols, and you would see them at like signings, and they're just barely walking or barely doing that. And I was like, man, I said, I have so much respect for what they've done. I said, but like, is there anything else you can do, to keep from being like that? Because some of these guys, man, they're hurt, man. The life they lived, to be able to perform, it has cost them greatly, and a lot of them, you know, um, can't do anything else because of that. And so for the rest of their life, that's the type of people they are. And I'm grateful that we have a fan base that still supports and still respects these people. But I would see these people, I'm like, well, what can I do different? That I'm still a part of the sport, and I'm not broken, and I'm not, needing as much as they're needing to do it, because everybody has their own story. Um, so I just started looking for other avenues while I was performing. Like I said, I still perform now. Um, but I just started looking for other avenues, and by the grace of God, I was given the opportunity, like I said, for commentary. And anytime I've ever been like in a tag team or a faction or anything like that, I've always been like the mouthpiece. But when I got the opportunity to do commentary, I was just in a feud with somebody, and I kind of sat at the desk and we was talking through it or whatever like that. And then after the match, I don't even know what I said, but the producer in the back was like, "You're natural," and I was like, "A natural what?" And he was like, "A commentary thing you did." But I think I had already had my feelings about commentary, and I would feel that there's been plenty of times I would be in the ring and I would get hurt or something would happen, and I would go back to watch the match, and the commentators would be talking about something way off the wall instead of what's actually going on inside the ring. And so I just made a vow to myself that if I'm ever sitting behind that desk, I'm going to make it about the people that are in the ring and not about me. And if I do that enough, it'll get me over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's been appreciated by other athletes because they see that. I could sit behind the desk and talk about what I've done, who I am, and what I would have done. Why they're not here, where to get them. It's like toot my own horn for nothing. I'm behind the desk. I'm safe. This person is the one that's putting their lives on the line. And once you realize the seriousness behind that, um, everything else should fall in place, man. This is a sport that, like I said earlier, it can break you, man. And so I really believe that. So if it breaks you, my job is to make you while you're between those ropes.
And I'm sure the wrestlers inside of the ring have a bigger appreciation for you because you've went through everything that they're going through, and you're talking about it because you've had firsthand experience.
Yeah, and that's been one of my things at AEW, especially with Ring of Honor now, and even when I would do like AEW Dark or whatever like that, I've been in position where I was the person getting a tryout. I've been in position where I was the person, first time on a big stage, and I'm getting all my friends and families to watch the show, and I'm excited to see it. Um, and I would be very upset if the first time I'm getting to be on TV, even though it's very rare that I would win, but I'm still going to be able to show that I'm here, that the commentators are picking at me or making a joke about me or making it seem like I shouldn't be there or not even mentioning my name or not taking me serious. And so I felt like it doesn't matter if I know this person or don't know them. I'm going to respect them as an athlete. I'm going to respect who they are. And I'm going to make the biggest shine for them that I can while they're on that stage, because that's their moment, you know. And in commentary, I've learned in documentaries can make or break. You know, Vince McMahon, if he didn't like somebody, everything they would do, he would say, the little so and so, the little, you know, he could make you smaller, you know. And I feel like if you can make somebody smaller, you can make them bigger. If you can make somebody unimportant, you can make them important. If you can make somebody a joke, you can make them be taken serious, you know. And that's just been the approach that I've had.
Yeah, and well, circling back to your in-ring career, who is the best dance partner you've had in the ring? What is some of your favorite matches that you've been a part of?
Oh man, Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal is a guy that he's gonna pull out the best in you no matter what. Cedric Alexander, tagging with him and feuding with him. He was just that young guy that just had it, and everybody knew it. You know, everybody knew that he had it, and he was also a sponge. And so, like, if you would advise something or if you had an idea, he would listen to it, he would calculate it, and he would try to figure out a way to do it. And then it's like it got to a point to where I could show him stuff, but then after a while, it's like he's already surpassed what I could show him in the ring. So now all I can really show him is like character type stuff or making moments out of things or things like that. But he would still give me that respect, you know. And so Cedric Alexander, oh man, it's just so many people I could say. Tagging with Kenny King and Rhett Titus has always been cool. Um, Feuds I've had in NWA Wildside with like Tony Mamaluke, that feud alone really showed me a lot. I don't know if you know who Tony Mamaluke is, but he was former tag team champion ECW, full blooded Italians, and all. He came for stand for NWA Wildside, a place that I used to go to, um, and we had like a feud there. Feuds with Jason Cross, Jimmy Rave, um, Rain Man. Uh, oh man, I don't, it's a lot, man. It's 20 over 25 years, you know. And so it's just it's hard to, you know, try not to miss anybody or whatever, but like it's just those feuds that you have with people that when you are in the ring with them or even not, their job is not just to put themselves over, but they want to pull the best out of you as well. And I've always respected those type of people.
Yeah, and what's going on with Cedric Alexander is just a travesty, I gotta say. The man should be one of the top priorities, I'd say, in that whole company. Not a travesty. I'm sure he has a great career, great, you know, I'm sure he has very stable in life, but his booking, I think, is a travesty because he's so talented, and it just makes me so upset to see that he's not on TV every week. Because I think him and Sheldon, especially, are both an incredible tag team.
Yeah, it's just it's the nature of the beast, man. It's some things when you get into position, you try to stay there as much as possible. You try to do your best, and you can only act with what you're given, you know, and make the best out of what you have. The bottom line comes with, you know, views and money and opinions, you know, and it's it's hard to speak on that type of stuff because there's so many things that go into it that sometimes you have to, you know, you play the game until it's your turn again. You know what I mean? And Cedric's somebody that has got an opportunity at a very young age, and he's going to be very important for a very long time, no matter what's happening right now. As long as he keeps his nose clean, keeps his head straight and focused, no matter what's going on, he can always be brought back serious. He can always be made this. He can always be put on more, you know. And then sometimes, you know, when you're not on TV, man, you're able to heal, you know. And so you take those times and you heal up, you lick the wounds, you know. When you come back better, you come back stronger. And as long as you can always be in position, be brought back, you're still in a good position.
So let's now circle it back to Ring of Honor Wrestling. And before Tony Khan bought it and took it over, How was your initial reaction to the closing of Ring of Honor, and what was the backstage atmosphere like at that supposed final battle?
Yeah, man, we didn't know. We didn't know what was gonna happen. We knew what final battle was. We found out in October about the business being shut down. And Ring of Honor, from where I see, they did the best they could with everybody, honoring their contracts. They took care of us through the pandemic. And so at that time, I'm like, hey, they did the best they could with what they had. And so the vibe in Final Battle was to put everything out there, and everybody had the same mentality, just to do your best and go out with a huge bang, because you never know what's going to happen next. You never know. We didn't feel, a lot of us, we were told that it was Final Battle for now, but there will be a resurgence. And we was thinking like in April and May, they was taking a hiatus. We were told we were taking hiatus. We would take a few months off, and then they would restart. We just didn't know how the restart would be. So it was kind of like, bye for now. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I was one that was on the buy for now thing, and we just kind of just seeing what happens and all, and then did final battle, and after final battle, you just do your best through April, and then when April comes, nothing really happened, and then around the end of April, you're watching TV, and Tony Khan's your new boss, and you're like, okay, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing, or what? Because it could have went either way. Like Tony Khan could have bought us, took the video archives, and just pieced out, But he was one that he bought Ring of Honor, and man, the guy is a legit Ring of Honor fan. He knows the history of Ring of Honor. He knows the wrestlers, and he's like a wrestling computer. He can tell you dates, what you were wearing, who was refereeing, who was this. He just knows it, and he bought it, and he had his own, I guess, ideas of what he wanted to do with Ring of Honor, and to this day, he's come through with it. He's been doing it, and to see this one mind do so many things, man, it's like watching a walking computer. Um, he's I've never seen anybody like him.
So that was actually my next question. You were just watching TV, and on that Dynamite in Daly's place, that's when you found out with the rest of the world.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. And were
yeah.
you so what was your initial reaction after that? Did you get contacted after that show? What was the contacting like for you?
Yeah, it wasn't contact. It was I got it was the funny thing was my phone started getting like a bunch of like congratulations, your new boss, congratulations. I was like, what? We don't know anything, you know what I mean? And so I just kind of waited and just kind of continued to do what I was doing, continue to put the grind in, and then we got a phone call. I think for the next pay-per-view that AEW wanted to have. Um, I forget the name of it, and I don't want to say it. Some jive turkey be like, "Oh, it was so and so." But anyway, brought in for that, and then that was kind of my tryout show. And ever since then, they've been bringing me back, and I'm on the contract now, and so I really can't complain. They went the smart road about it, took their time about it. There weren't no rushes, and that's where we are now.
Now with the Ring of Honor so far under the AEW banner, you've gotten to call some incredible matches, especially FTR and the Briscoes. How was your experience not only watching that, but being a part of that in a way?
It's an honor, uh, it was all a dream. I used to buy wrestling magazines, you know what I mean? And to see these magazines and see these people you admire in the magazines, and then the next thing you're part of this scene. You're part of the best matches of the year. You're part of the puzzle that helped it come together. It's a literal dream come true, to witness it. And when I was watching it, Riccaboni and I, we were calling it a match, but then matches are easy to call when they're that great, and it just kept getting better and kept getting better. And Riccaboni and I, we're huge wrestling fans. We love what we're doing. We get front row seats on these things, and we're enjoying the action, just like everybody else. So we just get a chance to give our opinions on it. And from my perspective and the experience that I have, I can tell what's going on inside of the ring. I can tell what the wrestler's trying to do. I can tell what they're trying to get across. I express that. Riccaboni calls out the moves and the facts. You know, we know our lanes. We stay in our lanes, and we could blend them sometimes, but sometimes our blend is just enough to get the other person in. You know, and chemistry is something you can't buy. You either have it or you don't. And matches like that, man, you're watching it and you're just like, man, this is awesome. This is gonna be like, this is just being a part of it, knowing that you're a part of something awesome. You you ride it then, but then when the rest of the world puts their stamp of approval on it, and you know, like you were part of it, you just kind of be like, okay, you know, I was in that moment. We did that, and it's one of those things where you can always look back, like even with Athena and Willow, you look and you're like, wow, this is great wrestling here, and I'm a part of some great moments of history.
That was actually my next question. That's funny you mentioned it because I thought that match was just stellar. It was
Yeah.
great. And Athena, I think, is, in my opinion, she's the best right now in the world when it comes to women's wrestling. I think she's just unbelievable. What do you think of this whole character change? Because it started on a couple episodes of Dark where she just got really aggressive taking out her opponents, and she just kind of morphed into something else now, something better.
Sometimes, you know, I think Dark was a place to allow people to kind of figure themselves out. At that time, Athena already knew who she was coming into AEW, and Athena, in my opinion, has just taken every opportunity she's been given to be in the ring and made the absolute best out of it, showing the world and showing the producers and everybody, okay, you want me to be here? Cool. I'm gonna blow everybody out the water until I am undeniable to you, to the fans, to myself, to my opponent, that I am the best female wrestler, the best woman wrestler in the world. And that's what she continues to do over and over again. And not only like does she do it with her personality, but her in-ring persona, her character, her moveset, her endurance, her ability to go up and up more, and to take her opponent with her ability to grab the crowd and to ride and to turn on them and soak them in one more time, to turn on them again. It's an art that's amazing to see someone do. And the thing that I love about her is to see that she loves to do it, and it's more coming. And it's like the more you do, the more you're able to do. Because if you stick with the same program, after a while, you know, you're just scratching a record that's already been played. But she continues to keep making more records, man. And, she's hit after hit after hit.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, what was it like working with Jay Briscoe? How incredible of a human being was he?
I mean, he was a friend, bro. Like he was somebody that I can go down to Jay Briscoe Road. He was just one of those guys that you to be a part of Ring of Honor, for a lot of people was a big deal. And I remember when I began to be taken serious at Ring of Honor, even before then, because Jay Briscoe met me in Cornelia, Georgia, when they used to come down to NWA Wildside. And so we kind of hit it off then. And sometimes when you go to they were in our house and they were showing respect in our house. But then when I came to their house, you kind of hey, remember me type thing. But, hey man, shoot, man, I know you are. You know, he would come out, and he was just always that person that if he knew you, he knew you. If he liked you, he liked you. He talked to you, and then after a while, like you get these personal conversations, and you get to know each other's family, and you ride down the road with each other, and you travel with somebody enough, man, you become family. You know what I'm saying? You're seeing them at work, but you're working 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? And you see them at work every week, and you travel on the road and your hotel rooms and your shows and your venues, and then people are hurt and family things go through. And then when family situations happen, everybody's kind of going through the same situations together, you know, experiencing them and all. And so after a while, you know, that friend becomes your brother, you know. And so him and I feel had great relationship because he was also a man of faith. And sometimes like his faith, he was really trying his best to maintain his faith, but then he had sometimes where he was like, well, I don't know about this, you know, and he would express it, you know, talk about it and all. And he was just that type of person that he was open. And if he believed you, he told you he believed. He didn't, he'd tell you and say, I think about that. You know, and it got to the point if you know Jay, you can almost predict what he's gonna say because it's like you just know where he's gonna go with something, and the respect he had for his family, for his mom and dad. You see this guy that can pretty much beat up anybody he comes across, but the adoration he had for his mom and the respect that he had for his dad, and the love that he had for his wife, and the cherishment that he had for his children, it's something that it's like, man, I want to be like that. I want to be cool, but be respectful and be, have those moments where it's like, well, big man said it, man. That's what big man said. My old lady said, and it's kind of like he knows who he is, but he respects the people around him enough to where he's let everybody knows, hey, these people have a big impact on me, and if they say it, I believe it. He's just a great guy, man. The love that he had for his brother, even opportunities where I think something happened at WWE, and they tried to split him up, and he was like, well, if my brother ain't coming with me, I ain't going. Like, who does that? He's just that type of person, man. If he had your back, he had your back. And to see one of those people, man, live in front of you, with ups and downs and trials of life, and all, and seeing that they're human, but they're trying their best, you can't help but love somebody like that. You can't help it, man. We would text back and forth, little fitness things or whatever like that, and it was just cool. And he was definitely a family member.
Now, final question of the interview. You're also a minister, which is very similar, I'd say, to wrestling. You both need a lot of charisma. You both need a lot of energy. You both need a lot of enthusiasm. How was it transferring yourself from a ring to a church, or vice versa?
Yeah, it's no transfer to me, because what you see is what you get. Like, this is Caprice Coleman. This is who I am wrestling. This is who I am ministering, and all. When you see me in the pulpit, I'm not ha, then ha, and ha. I talk just the way I talk now. I am expressing the word of God. I'm talking about what Jesus did for me. I'm trying to make the word expressible to people where anybody can understand it. And that's just the type of person I am. The same way I talk on broadcasting, or the same excitement I have, what you see is what you get. And I thank God that He has put me in position to where my gift has made room for me. With being called to preach, that means, you're called to talk. And I get paid to talk for a living, and I've also been blessed to be healthy as well. And so all those perspectives put in, to God be the glory. And who am I not to talk about this man that has allowed me to live the life that I have? It's easy that I guess you can get lost in and see that you've done it yourself, or you're the one that did all these things, but I can't do that, because I know that I could be doing something way different. I know that, it could have been somebody else. I can see people and know, man, this person is smarter than I am, or more wittier than I am, or faster than I am, or stronger than I am. But somehow, in some way, I'm the one in this position. So I take those positions seriously. I do my best in them. And I try to grow in whatever I get in. So I try my best at it, because faith without works is dead. But I also realize that it's God allowing me to do these things. But I feel He's allowing me to do it because I'm not ashamed to represent Him. And that has also kind of, in a way, it'll kind of, put a ceiling to some of your things. Sometimes you have to break through them, because people don't know how they can use me. I'm not afraid to say no to ideas that I feel would be misconstrued, or testing the waters on something that you never know the minds of producers, and they say, well, we could do this and do that or whatever, and this, and I can kind of see those things, and I'm not afraid to say no. And so sometimes me saying no to things that may have, sealing me out on some things, where they had to keep doing other avenues. But it's me making a stand for who I am, and making a stand for Christ while living in this world. And so if that's what I have to do, I know that I'm making the right choice for me. And I think that's what this world has come to, is people are making the right choices for themselves.
A top-tier commentator, top-tier minister, and a top-tier human being. Caprice Coleman, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow Caprice on all of his social media platforms, and thank you so much for joining us. Leave a like and subscribe.